this is Indiana Underhill. I'm Haley. Welcome to
the Topanga Collective podcast.
To the podcast. This is our guest,
Alex Rudolph.
Hello, everybody.
Okay.
What do you prefer? Alex Rudolph, Rudy, the Maestro? What one?
Alex is good.
Okay.
Rudolph, Rudy, whatever.
Rudy?
Yeah, however it comes
I
across.
heard that you like to be called Alexi. Can you talk about that?
I have not heard that, actually. This is news to me.
Alexi? I had a teacher once who called an Alex in my class Alexi, the whole time, and no one,
Not even Alexi?
his name was Alex,
Yeah, no, he didn't.
to everyone and everywhere.
Wow.
But this one teacher
Just being weird.
insisted Alexi. Wild. Yeah.
I had a teacher call me Axel as a kid. That was interesting.
They just switched. Did they know?
They knew. I think Axel Rose, Alex Rudolph has a similarity. I don't know.
No.
Lettering, whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, we both know Alex. We actually knew Alex separately before we knew each other.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
I think I may have brought you two together in some weird subliminal way.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, because if it weren't for you living with Doug,
who's her ex-boyfriend,
I would never know Indy.
Because
Yeah.
Alex and I went... Okay, well, Alex and I went to AFI together, American Film Institute. Also where we both know Mikey Riva from, who was on our podcast. And Alex is a producer, was also a producer at AFI. I was a cinematographer. And I have worked with Alex many times. And that's why he is here, because he is a fantastic person and producer.
Thank you,
true.
Indy.
Yeah, no worries. And so we have many stories from that, and he's put up with a lot of my anger issues.
Anger issues.
Nah, I'm just kidding. But you've put up with a lot of my stuff and my random ideas.
We've had fun.
Yeah, we've had some fun. That's a good way of putting it. We've had fun.
We've had fun.
Yeah. And then Haley, do you have a story about Alex from one of the first times you've met? What's the first time you met him? Do you know? You remember?
I remember, I think.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
It must have been, at your house, probably.
Yeah. What's the rating level of this podcast?
Whatever you want.
We had smoked a massive joint and then went driving around Hollywood and got pinks.
Wait, oh my
Doug.
god, yeah, that was the first time we met. Okay,
think
this
so.
is one of my favorite memories, actually, because we
Ever?
smoked, and then we were like, let's go get hot dogs. And we got into Doug's old 4Runner,
Yeah.
and we were driving down Hollywood Boulevard, and we
Yeah.
just kept saying, we made it!
Aww.
We're driving in Hollywood going to get a hot dog. We made it. We're
Eyes glazed,
living
just hanging out the
the
window. It
life.
was
We live in Hollywood. It was such a wonderful feeling
So idyllic.
to be like, look at the Hollywood sign. We did it. We're here.
Oh, I love
It was
that.
like a beautiful day in June or July or something
was
too. It was
such
super
a
hot.
great
A summer day. Summer night.
It was beautiful.
Oh, those summer
Yeah.
nights.
Wow, that was the first time we met?
I think so, yeah.
Wild.
Cool.
Oh,
Very
and now
cool.
you're here with both of us, and we're
And
like,
here we all are.
we're on the track to become best friends. So you're really looking at history here, Alex.
Yeah.
I'm witnessing it and I
Yeah.
can feel it. It's
Yeah.
real.
Yeah,
It's real.
The vibe's
It's palpable.
It's happening.
good. Yeah. But the reason we wanted you to come today, although you're a great person, is really to talk about the producing standpoint of all things
Totally.
actors and filmmaking.
Mhm.
Because a producer can mean a lot of things, and you know that. And but who we hope we talk to, are newer filmmakers as well as actors in this business.
I was at a screening last night with Zane Kalnina, a good friend of ours.
Zane.
Kalnina from Latvia, also an AFI alum and incredible producer. She's actually going to London in 2 weeks for the UK VMAs because she produced this beautiful music video with Legally.
Wow.
Oh, and Theo.
And Theo, yeah.
Amazing.
Okay.
Lindqvist. But yeah, so we were at this BAFTA screening last night, and afterwards it was for The Good Nurse, and Jessica Chastain is talking about, her. She's talking about this scene, this pretty intimate scene where she has this realization moment, and it's a fairly normal, it's a diner scene, and at the end of it, there's this moment where she has this kind of realization, and it's very close on her face, and they had these, as they were explaining it, there were these incredibly hot lights that were super close because it had to get super tight, and because these big hot lights were above her, the seats were also getting hot.
Oh, no.
And she couldn't see. She's got blue eyes, so she's like, But so to perform this moment, she would they would like cover her in like ice packs and cold blankets and just keep running cold water through to keep her temperate. And then she'd keep her eyes closed until the director called action, and then she'd open her eyes, take a second, and then deliver the line, because then her pupils would dilate and then it would so it can get down to those nitty gritty, like technical, like we need your eyes to dilate in the right way for this light, for this moment that nobody's gonna notice, but you'll feel it
subconsciously.
You'll feel it.
It's like Atonement with the Saoirse Ronan when she has the realization with her green eyes or blue eyes, I think, and she opens them up and her pupils dilate because they put a hot source there so that her eyes, you would see the change. That's awesome.
Yeah, but to like talk technically, like you have to be able to be under these blankets with the lights on you with your eyes closed, and then you have to be able to drop in an instant. And you can do that if you really understand what is going, like what are they trying to achieve with all of this, instead of just being like, there's a fucking light in my face, I don't know why, I can't get into character. She probably could understand the entire, like the big picture of what was going on.
Yeah, she seemed like she brought it up, and she had a very obviously professional point of view about it. And it was a critical moment of the film where you needed this physicality to come through, because it's the moment where she realizes that her, spoiler alert, her best friend is murdering people in the hospital.
Yeah. It's not a spoiler. We saw it in the trailer.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a very cool moment. And then also similarly, there's a moment, the opening shot of the film is this long telescopic zoom lens on Eddie Redmayne as he's, experiencing this, a patient is like ODing essentially, and he's in this room as like triage comes in and is trying to resuscitate, and it's a slow push in on him kind of in the corner, like doing his thing. And he talked about, as an actor, their favorite, or at least for him, his favorite camera, or his favorite focal length or whatever is a telescopic zoom, because the camera's all the way on the other side of the room. He gets to be as real as he can, as real as it.
You don't even know the camera's on you, really.
Where it is. Exactly. So he gets to perform in this way and just experience a little dot coming closer to him.
Yeah, that can feel like you're on stage.
Yeah.
That's when it's that far away.
Thanks, Alex.
But two anecdotes unrelated to me, but came up at a screening last night. I thought it might be interesting.
Fantastic. I mean, it's definitely applicable. So let's dive in a little bit.
Yeah.
What do we?
Should we start from the top and just say, like, introduce yourself, kind of, and your journey and what made you want to become a producer and how you found yourself here?
Yeah,
like
totally.
because I mean, I don't know, I've never met a 5-year-old who's like, I want to be a producer when I grow up.
Neither.
But was that you?
Watch out for that kid. No, that was not me at all. When I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a skier. I wanted to be a professional Olympic skier or whatever that. What
kind of skiing?
When I was 5, I wanted to be an extreme skier. They had these contests back in the day called it was like the Extreme Skiing Tour, and they would go around the world and ski.
Just like
these crazy lines you have to get from the top to bottom, and whoever had the best line won. And now it's adapted over the years, and it's called the Free Ride World Tour. But the earlier version of that is what I really wanted to do. But I was jumping off little 2 or 3 foot rocks, and thought they were a lot bigger back then.
Yeah.
But grew up and then found ski racing. Was a ski racer for 10 or 12 years, and then started getting injured through that experience, and quickly decided or understood that my professional endeavors were probably not going to happen. And after one more injury, I kind of hung up my competitive skis, and ultimately through recovery and getting back into regular normal life, I picked up a camera and started shooting my friends doing the stupid, crazy things that we were trying to do. And it was just for fun at first, and it started out as fun and just something that kept me creative and inspired to go outside and be in the mountains and hang out with my friends and still be a part of those gatherings and conversations. And then I got good at it, just doing it a lot. I was the kid in high school who always had a camera. I was always shooting. And then got to college, and it wasn't really a pursuit that I was thinking of. It was just something I did for fun, and started building relationships with different ski brands and outdoor companies, and that was kind of my focus. And by the end of my freshman year, I decided that like this was it. This was what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, and I kind of talked my way into an internship at Poor Boys Productions, which was and still is one of the core ski film companies. And I'm so grateful for them, because they kind of gave me my start and taught me how things work in the real world. And
how did that discussion go? You said you talked your way into it. Did you meet somebody and kind of ask them? How'd that go?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to be in film. Mm-hmm. So I moved out to LA for the summer and was working as an intern for a kind of alien documentary B-C level company.
Wild. Okay.
In the Valley. And I was building office furniture and posting on their Facebook about this new movie that they had come out with, which I think it did decently well for that kind of a film.
Wow, cool.
But,
what's it called?
Sirius.
Spelt serious?
Sirius.
Oh, like in
Sirius.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, like Sirius Black.
Or like Sirius
Sirius
XM radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the radio. Either one.
Which you guys will end up on one day for sure.
Sirius?
Sirius.
Radio?
Yeah.
Yeah. 1,000%. Yeah, 1,000%.
Sure.
That's the career path here.
That's what we're
really
trying
want.
to do.
Yeah.
But
We'll talk about smoking huge joints on that too.
I mean, Howard Stern does it all the
You
time.
can talk about anything you want on satellite radio.
Is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's not syndicated. I don't know.
You
What a
can't,
word.
can't
I don't know what I'm
censor space, can you?
You can't censor space.
You heard it here. Okay, so Poor Boys.
Yes, well, so
It was Poor Boys, then
I was working at this doc company. And kind of, they were great. I wasn't learning anything. I was just building office furniture and posting on social media. And then I saw on Facebook one day while I was posting that Poor Boys had an internship opening in Hermosa Beach. Mm-hmm. I was living in the Valley, so I told these guys that I had a paid gig that I had to go and do. So I drove down to Hermosa and had an interview, and I was 19 at the time. And they usually didn't hire interns under like 20, like earlier than college. Legally, yeah.
Yeah.
And in the interview, one of the directors at the company was walking around like packing up for a trip, and he heard that I was from Steamboat Springs. And he was also from Steamboat Springs. So we got to talking, and then ultimately he's like, yeah, this kid's hired. And that was it. I was there. I was supposed to work 2 days a week from like 11 to 3. And I ended up working there 7 days a week for 14 hours a day, just because I wanted to. Like they would tell me to go home and I would just stay and continue editing. I learned how to edit, and that was my first summer working on a full like feature documentary film, and it was incredible. I learned so much and met the best friends, and they taught me how to surf. And yeah, and through college for the next couple of years, they kept throwing me work, and Tyler Hamlet has become a mentor and an older brother figure to me, and kind of called me out to move to Seattle after I graduated college, and I ended up working for him some more over the years through a freelance capacity, doing more Red Bull projects and X Games stuff, and it was super, super fun.
It's like so full circle, because it's like you were looking at all the Red Bull stuff as you were like skiing.
Yeah.
Not knowing that eventually you would be with the company, like shooting the stuff.
Totally. I mean, these guys made the films that I grew up watching with my friends, sitting as we were like going out to shoot ski videos. We'd watch their films for reference and then try and go recreate some of their...
copy like the shots.
Exactly. Stuff. There was one day where I remember we were shooting this like soccer goal feature, and Sammy Carlson in one of the films like does this crazy 50-50 board slide on skis and some kind of crazy flip afterwards, and we were trying to recreate shot by shot, and it just
fun
wasn't working out. We didn't have a winch. We just had a little Banshee bungee, which is like a rubber bungee cord thing, and didn't work.
It didn't work.
But you tried.
We tried.
You tried. So how did this translate into your desire to become a producer?
Yeah, so I then, after chasing that for a couple of years, I was fully focused on kind of the outdoor world and skiing and surfing and sailing and kind of finding that inspiration. But that was also like what drove me in my personal life. Like I love the outdoors, and I was finding that combining professional and personal was getting a little bit muddy, and I didn't have another outlet for self-expression outside of work. And it was great that work and passion were colliding, but I couldn't find more, and I'd find myself just watching movies all day long. In between gigs, I would just sit home and watch films. And it reminded me of when I was a kid, like from middle school through high school. If I wasn't skiing and if I wasn't shooting skiing or competing, I'd be watching movies, and I'd get yelled at late at night. My parents would yell at me for staying up late and watching movies. I'd get yelled at in school for sitting in study hall and watching films. And once I realized that the work that I was doing, I could, in theory, make some of these, tell some of these stories, that's when it kind of clicked for me. And I'd just gotten back from a job, and I had like 3 weeks off in between gigs to my next one. So I applied I couldn't figure out how to get into Hollywood. So I applied to graduate school and got in. That's where I met Indy, AFI.
Yeah.
And look at you now,
Yeah.
Dude,
you did it.
Alex is so impressive. Can you talk about some of the projects you've worked on since AFI? Show off.
Brag.
Well, during AFI, I worked on one. It was a ski film project that I'm super proud of. It's called Fire on the Mountain. It's a creative collaboration between the Grateful Dead and these athletes in the action sports world: Chris Benchetler, Robin Chotto, Jeremy Jones, Michelle Parker. And it's just, we basically went up to Mammoth for 6 nights. We shut off this side of the resort as the storm came in and just settled piles and piles, feet and feet of snow, and set up these crazy psychedelic lights, and they basically skied through it, and we captured it on 17 different cameras and cut it all together and made a movie. But so that was during AFI. And then in the last year, I've shot 2 feature films, feature narrative films, which are my first 2 projects. And
as a lead producer.
As a producer, yeah. Which were incredible. I developed these projects kind of through the end of AFI and into real life, I guess, with Lige Sarkey, who I now work for. And then we ended up shooting both of those movies in the last year. And
and you have another one lined up.
We've got a couple
soon,
more lined up.
Right?
Yeah, we're supposed to be shooting another film in Chicago in hopefully January or February, and then another one back here in LA in April, May.
How did you find that work with Lige?
So during AFI, which I have to thank Leanne Helfin for her incredible guidance and support and motivation.
The head of the producing
Who's
program.
the head of the producing program. Yeah. I was in between the first and second year. As the first year was winding up, or winding down, I was in her office every day just trying to figure out what I wanted to do, because producing was more of a theoretical thing. I didn't really know what it meant to be a producer. I just knew that the producer was kind of in charge of the grand scheme of things, and sometimes they find the money, and sometimes they find the project, and sometimes they find the team. And I wanted to be involved in all of that. I wanted to be from conception to completion. So she introduced me to Lige one day, and I basically talked my way into an internship with him too. He'd never had anybody really work for him in that capacity, so I got coffee with him one day, and I just told him that I'd read scripts all summer for him if he signed this document that helped me get student loans for the summer.
That's amazing. Oh my God.
He's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So I started reading 3 to 5 scripts a week for him, and by the end of the summer, he took me to the premiere of The Peanut Butter Falcon, which was amazing.
Hey everybody, it's Haley, just popping in here to chat a little about cinematography for actors. It's an online course platform that Indy and I created to teach the technical side of performance. Our goal is to help you, as an actor or newer filmmaker, feel confident when you walk onto set. We release new classes monthly, and you'll also find tons of free downloadable content. We recommend our subscription, where you'll have unlimited access to all of our existing courses, bonus materials, and those new monthly releases. Our listeners can use code TTCPodcast for 20% off a monthly membership of the entire collection. That's TTC Podcast for 20% off your card at checkout. Okay, now back to the episode.
pandemic and everything.
I mean, we graduated during COVID, where everyone was like, "So, do we work in this industry, or
like, do we go home?
Do we fly? Like, is it going to be like a movie, like Contagion, where everyone's dying? Like,
do we put on leathers and go out to the desert and get weird like
and
Mad Max?
Protests were happening, things were on fire, everything.
There were some big discussions I remember at that time about where the industry would move. It wasn't going to be here anymore, so everyone who lived here was like, "Oh my god, I have to,
it's like a mass
leave
exodus.
Town." Like everyone was like, "Do we go to Texas? Is it happening in Texas?"
Yeah.
I think that is settled. I really do. You know, like Atlanta grew. Atlanta really did grow during the pandemic, but I also don't think that's where the heart of film and television
We're still
will
here.
be. I think it will always be here, but for a while, everyone was very worried and concerned that we were going to have to leave town.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you go back in time to the impetus of the film industry and Hollywood in general, like the reason that it's here is because of the weather. The reason that film has moved to Atlanta is because of tax incentives. So those are, I think, the 100-year-old history that we've been in Hollywood and Los Angeles, and the reason that this town has become the way it is because of entertainment. And I don't think you find the same thing out of some backdoor financial money.
Money doesn't buy happiness.
No, it does not.
Creative producer versus producer.
So creative producer is, at least I mean, it's so hard to define what a producer is because there's so many different versions of that role, and it's all the same title. Like creative producer is not a credit that you get on a film. I think the closest thing is produced by, which is like a PGA kind of nod. That you're just part of a club and you've done this thing, but that's also a very political process, and not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean what it used to. But for me, a creative producer is somebody who either found a director, found a script, found a project, or created the project from scratch and worked on molding this idea into something tangible, like a script or a concept or a relationship, and then guiding that kernel into something like a film or a TV show, and then seeing it all the way through to completion, and bringing on other producers who can help with the money. Obviously, line producers bring on logistics and locations and all the nitty-gritty details of what you need to make a movie. But the creative producers heavily involved in kind of guiding the story and guiding the look and the feel, and essentially fostering the director and the screenwriter into a really, really passionate, good relationship.
Wow.
That's a big difference.
Yeah. And you're one of the producers, like when we talk about Lige, that you, like, we talk a lot, I think Haley and I, about, and in the industry, we talk about working with the same people over and over again. And that's like the reason we work in this industry a lot of the time, is because we want to find like our own family within film, as well as like build a community of people around us that we admire and continue to work with. And you and Lige are kind of a good example of that, Lige being your director on these projects, right?
Yeah, and he's also, I mean, he's also my boss. He's also my producer. He produces all these projects as well, and he's kind of taken me under his wing to see that relationship grow and to foster these films, because it takes a village. You can't just do it on your own, and some people maybe can, but it's a lot nicer to have a crew of really, really good, like-minded people who have a secondhand language, which it's great.
And you're writing as well.
Yeah.
Well, you finished some stuff.
Yeah, I've written 2 screenplays in the last 2 years. I'm writing a couple more. Just pitched a TV show. I'm developing with Doug.
Yeah, the gold mine thing.
Well, we that's kind of in its own. It's finished essentially.
Amazing.
We're trying to figure out what to do with that.
Yeah.
COVID was not friendly for that, but just scale and timing.
Why not? It's outside.
It's outside. It would have been fine.
Well, we had what pushed us over the finish line to like get that thing done was we had a relationship with a producer who wanted to option the material and take it out.
Oh. Cool.
And then as soon as we satisfied the option, we got the rights to this IP. COVID hit, and then 2 months later, this producer stopped answering our phone calls. Yeah.
That is a really hard reality about writing, is you can have so many finished stories that
you're like, so never, now what?
They never see the light of day. Even if you sell something, it may never get a table read. It may, like, writing really is something you do for the love of creating a story.
Yeah, you have to. It has to come from an intrinsic place before anything else. Like, for example, these 2 movies that we shot, the one that we just shot in August, it's called Sweet Dreams. We had developed that in the first couple weeks of the pandemic. Lige had this desire to write and direct. Or he didn't want to direct it at first. He just wanted to write it and see what would happen, just as kind of an exercise. And then it turned into something great. We cast it pretty much immediately. And then it just sat for 2 years. We couldn't figure out how to make it. So then around 6 or 7 months later, he wrote this other screenplay. He's like, hey, we're bored. Let's come up with something that we can shoot. I have this thing that I've been wanting to say. Let's do it super tight. It's one actor playing 2 roles opposite himself, essentially. We'll go out to the desert and shoot it with a lean, mean crew and find a little bit of money and make it happen. So we ended up shooting that one first. That was last October. It was called Dugout. Cool. We just submitted it to
Very cool.
Sundance, so hopefully we'll
Fingers
find
crossed.
out soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should get into the actor.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we're doing this today.
We're like the same vibe right
We
now.
really are.
We've done this in everything we've recorded.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
We have to
take
sit
it
more
away.
like this nowadays. No, you take it away.
Okay. I would like to talk about, as a producer, first thing I want to ask you, because we did just talk about this with Jay. Actors, when they hear that you're a producer, I would assume some of them really get excited. Like, they're like so stoked to be meeting a producer, because I think that I don't know if it's a misconception, but there is a conception that a producer can really do something for your career. Like, if you're friends with the producer, they're going to make sure you get cast, whether or not that is actually how it happens. Do you ever feel wary at all when you meet someone who's an actor, the way that they start once they find out you're a producer? Have you felt any kind of like change in the way that they treat you or act?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
What's that
Such
like?
a bummer.
It's interesting. It's I think it's part of the nature of having these roles in this town, and everybody's here for the most part for the same thing. Everyone wants to make films or make TV and have their name in the lights, or whatever it is, whatever calls you here, to tell stories or whatever it is. You're always navigating, trying to figure out what the next step is and who are you going to meet, where are you going to come across. And if you meet somebody who is in a position that could potentially get you there, yeah, it's an interesting conversation. Like, oh, how am I going to navigate this? And every time that I find myself on the opposite side of that, you can feel I don't know, slimy is not the right word for it, but there's like a tactile energy that you can almost like feel.
It's like not authentic.
It's not authentic
conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're just trying to figure out what you do and where you come from and like how you can get there, and if you have anything coming up.
Yeah.
Have you felt that from other departments as well? From people who work different jobs, not just actors? Or is this an actor problem that we have to nip in the bud?
Honestly, this is more of an actor thing.
Okay.
Wow.
Guys, you heard it here.
But I think it's also a numbers thing, because there are so many actors in LA. And there's a ton of material, there's a ton of content, for lack of a better expression, on TV or in films, and there's so much going on, but everybody wants to be an actor. Like when you asked me what I wanted to be when I was 5 years old, I'd not say producer.
Yeah.
But I had friends who wanted to be actors.
Yeah.
I don't think they're doing that. I don't remember who they were. But,
At 5.
But I know they were out there.
But they were, yeah.
Like, do you have a story about something like this happening kind of randomly or caught you off guard?
Or made you uncomfortable?
Talk about when you were uncomfortable, Alex.
not uncomfortable, because I think it can be easy to navigate these things just by trying to inject not inject, but like to have an organic conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
It was interesting, for sure.
There is something to be said for being able to be in these situations where you know someone's job and you know it's important and you know they could possibly help you somewhere down the line. There's something to be said for not trying to give them your business card.
Yeah.
Building like authentic, organic relationships.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Like, you are not going to build a friendship if all you're thinking the whole time is, when do I slip it to this?
What am I going to get out of this?
But the reason is, too, it's like, it's not just because like everyone's an actor, everyone's in film, and like you're trying to like hustle and talk to each other or whatever. But the reason is because like we work with people that are like-minded. We work with people that we like. And so you have to like them on a basic level even before finding out what they do, because we work a lot of the time in narrative, we work with people that we're friends with or have formed friendship with through professional regard. But so it's like, if you're meeting someone at a wedding, you're more likely to want to ask them, oh, what are you into? Oh, we should collaborate. If you like who they are and you're interested in their hobbies and you're interested in what they're doing or where they're located, or like have an idea for something, because you get along with them on a basic level.
I feel like it's so weird. I feel like we are so misled or let down in like our university settings, or even in just like professional training.
Yeah.
Because yes, the word networking is thrown around. And like, get your business cards ready, get all your stuff so people can find you. But there is no discussion on, but when you get there, don't
network. Don't network as you think it is. Like, network as having conversations with people that you don't know.
There is really no discussion on make it an authentic friendship.
Yeah.
They'll ask you if they want it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how you end up with so many just like desperate feeling people just like dealing their business cards when they meet you.
I don't even
so
carry.
Uncomfortable.
Do you carry business? I don't carry business cards.
No,
anymore.
I don't.
No.
I exchange Instagram. I exchange email, phone, but it's Instagram, I think. I used to, when I just started in the industry, I had like 50 business cards on me at all times that I would get ready to hand out at Camry Mobs or at networking events or wherever it was.
That's so cute when you were 17.
When I was young. And then I realized that like the only people that were giving business cards were like vendors that you would actually need their email in order to make an order with. Or like, but from a personal standpoint, it was like, let's connect on, at that time I think it was Facebook, but like, let's connect on Facebook, let's connect on Instagram so that we can like see what each other are up to. Mm-hmm. It's also a cheat.
See if our lives meld, because that's, you're not going to even want to work with someone whose life is so completely different with yours, because then you're spending 12 hours a day with someone you can't
in a forced
relate
relationship.
To.
Yeah. And I think the biggest question here too that people ask, is where are you based? And if your base don't line up, it's hard to find a way in which you're going to work together immediately. So that's like a down the line, like let's connect on socials, because then eventually if I end up being in Chicago and you were from Chicago and I met you at a festival like 5 years ago, you'll probably message me being like, oh, I see you're headed in Chicago, let's catch up. And you'll remember that because you'll remember their face because their photos are posted on socials, which don't give a business card a lot of the time.
Thank God for social media.
I know.
I have also thought about those like QR codes.
Oh yeah.
But you're not going to use those things. I honestly think you will never use a networking tool enough to make it worth the money.
Yeah.
Because it's ideal to create just the friendship.
Business cards nowadays too feel too formal for the relationships I want to have with people.
Formal.
Yeah.
Very old fashioned.
100%. Or just of another business. Like it's yes, this is a business, and yes, this is an industry, but it's more just a bunch of people trying to do crazy stupid things.
Especially
we like
narrative.
To pretend this is not a business. That's the illusion I think that we all like to keep. We pretend like this is play dates. We want to pretend this is play dates and imagination.
Mikey said it best.
We don't want it to feel like business. We want it to be fun.
It's grown-up kids.
Grown-up kids.
That's what Mikey said.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of
he's absolutely right.
kids on set.
Mikey's brilliant. I love that man.
Love that guy.
So I do want to talk a little more about how your position? Like, what is your interaction, if any, with actors, with their reps from your position specifically?
So, on these 2 different movies, I had kind of 2 different roles with talent. On the first one, it was a much more intimate relationship. Chris Bauer, who's the star of the film, is a good friend of Lige, who directed the film.
Mm-hmm.
And that relationship is what fostered this movie. Lige knew that this is a story that he wanted to tell, and he knew that he wanted Chris to be the guy. So the conversation happened from just, hey, let's do this film. And then getting the reps involved later on was more of a back channel conversation. But every day, I essentially helped Chris come out to the desert. We shot in Joshua Tree, so I was there for all of his. I scheduled all of his meetings with not with Lige, but with the rest of the crew to get him hair and makeup ready and costume and measurements and all that, and then just had some table reads with him and Lige and talking through what the characters looked like and how they felt. And then in the desert, I felt like I feel like I, as a producer on that role, was kind of a concierge in a way, and just making, because he's an incredible actor. He's been on every major TV show under the sun for the last 20 years, and he's a professional. He's experienced, and he's seen it all. So I wanted to give him at least the illusion that we knew what we were doing, and that we were out there, and this was going to be comfortable, and he was going to be able to find his process, just like he has 1,000 times before. So my number one goal with him was to make him feel comfortable and happy and settled and chill. So if there was, when he'd roll up to set, just kind of have a normal good morning, how's it going conversation, let him find his thing, and kind of keep the fires away, out of sight, essentially. The best that I could.
Because that's really, like, a lot of the time what producers are dealing with is putting out fires.
Yeah, and there were a lot of fires on that movie because it was very, very small. And I was basically out there by myself with Miles Skinner, and Lige was producing as well, but he's also directing. So it was me and Miles, and then Katie Bettner, our other producer, was a phone call away. So I check in with her like 3 times a day to help put out fires or come up with ideas of how things could be navigated. But it was a lot of fun. It was really, really hard. It was definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I learned a lot. And I built relationships that I will have for the rest of time.
Did he exhibit any behaviors that you really appreciated and would like to see more of from actors?
Gratitude. Okay. Sincere gratitude. And just cordiality. I don't know if that's a word, but like he was just a genuinely nice... Congeniality, maybe? He's a genuinely authentic, nice, organic human being. Or he's just a really good actor and I couldn't tell, and he fucking hated my guts. But we had a great time. There was one night right when we got there, I think it was like our second... It had to have been our second or third night, because originally he and his body double, who's also in the film, which will kind of explain itself, were staying in this house about 30 miles from set.
Wow.
And it was too far, so we ended up moving them closer. But on this road, they were in these desert roads are very dark at night, and it's hard to see, and one of them ended up in the ditch, so I had to go out there and kind of rescue, or at least attempt to rescue and flag down people to help pull them out and dig them out. So we kind of built a bond from there, and that kind of became like our thing for the rest of the shoot. So, like, we had this like survival moment together.
Throw your actors in the ditch is what we're learning.
Yeah, so throw your actors in the ditch and find that moment.
Get them trapped and resue them, and they will
fake that. Yeah, make sure they're in the ditch so you can be their savior. Got it.
And also wear clothes that they like, because I have these...
You're a fashionable guy.
I don't think so, but I wear these I have these pants that I wear on set all the time from my friends that started the company. We are fun. And they're like climbing kind of lifestyle clothing, and I was wearing those pants, and Chris and I had a conversation, and now he's got like 3 or 4 pairs of them.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Little brand ambassador Rudy over here.
Yeah, look at that.
Shout out Ingrid.
Nice. And
Pay him.
immediately. Hi everyone, it's Indiana. Just popping in here to chat a little bit about cinematography for actors. It's an online course platform that Haley and I created to teach the technical side of performance. As a cinematographer, I've noticed that the difference between newer and seasoned actors isn't in their ability to perform, it's in their ability to understand the technical requirements of them on set. Our goal is to help you, as an actor or a newer filmmaker, feel confident when you walk onto set. We release new classes monthly, and you'll also find tons of free downloadable content. Now, we recommend the most affordable option, our subscription, where you'll have access to every single thing we put out, including bonus materials, existing classes, and classes as they release monthly. Our listeners can use code TTC Podcast for 20% off a monthly membership of the entire collection. That's TTC Podcast for 20% off your cart at checkout. Okay, back to the episode.
Just send me pants.
And then the other movie,
Sweet
different
Dreams.
story.
Different story.
Okay.
It was a much bigger project, and there were a lot more kind of cooks involved. Mm-hmm. So as that came about, because I also have this other role, basically I'm a producer with Lige, but I'm also a TV development executive with another company that we have, with Jay Carson, who's kind of the Lige's new TV partner, producing partner, and I'm their development executive. So I have this responsibility to run the development of this TV company. So I kind of took a step back on Sweet Dreams and took a co-producer position, to try and, balance my bandwidth a little bit more. And it worked out. It was great. I got to go to set when I wanted to, and if something came up, I'd get a call or a text and show up and try and figure it out. But it was much more kind of hands off on that one. But for talent, I was involved in having the initial conversation with the reps, kind of putting together lists of actors who we thought could be interesting for these different roles, and kind of building out what the look would be in terms of performance and character, and who these people would be ultimately.
So you did have some selection power, or early selection power. Help build a cast.
Yeah, exactly. Before we brought on a casting director, I was building the lists, just of options about names and faces, and who could perform well, and have those conversations with Lige, to see where he was feeling and what we could do, and the kind of talking through different sensibilities and different character types and different character traits and these different people. And that kind of informed, because we had a couple of different drafts of the script, and then once we kind of started building the cast, the script changed a little bit to satisfy nuances of these different characters who we saw in these people. So being a part of that process was really, really cool as well. Yeah. And then obviously reaching out to agents and starting those conversations was another part of my responsibility on that set as well.
What is that conversation like when you reach out to a rep?
It's pretty straightforward. You're talking to the assistant first and trying to get availability, trying to sell the nuts and bolts of what the script is, and who the director and the filmmaker and the team are, what the budget is. That's usually their first question, because agents are about the bottom line. Yeah.
Numbers.
They're the face, so the actors don't have to deal with that, obviously. Yeah. So they're asking all the hard questions, and you're answering them to the best of your ability. And when you get to that moment, you can finally share the materials. We had this cast built out. It's an ensemble piece. There's like 7 or 8 like star vehicles, essentially. There's one star. Johnny Knoxville is the star of the movie, but there's 7 or 8 other roles that are pretty heavy hitters. And we had this cast built out 2 years before we shot the movie.
Wow.
So then the next 2 years was checking in. It's like, hey,
are we still good?
Is this window okay? Like we lost financing, but then we found some financing and like, okay, we're going to be shooting this month. Okay, no, we're not. We're going to be shooting next month. And then dialing in that was kind of the, once we had our window, we had to replace some people just because of availability. But then once we started, it was great. We had a couple COVID issues, obviously.
Yeah.
With the times, but it worked out. We didn't have to replace anybody.
Did you run auditions for this, or did you just offer parts?
We mostly offered parts. We did run some auditions for some smaller roles, and more of sending out sides and having table or like video,
just directly asking for tapes.
Yeah, exactly. But that was more of our casting director. Once she came on, she kind of guided the ship from there.
Managers, reps, that whole world of it. Have you worked with bad ones? Have you worked with good ones? What are the biggest differences you're finding for actor reps or managers?
I wouldn't say, I mean, bad ones, good ones. I wouldn't say there's anything in between. I definitely have reps that I prefer talking to just because there is more of an organic, authentic relationship there. And not like we're friends and I could call them up and like, go get a drink, but like I call them and they know who I am and we have a conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas there are reps who just get straight to the point, or they're who they rep is somebody who's very, very in need, or very needed, in demand. And they get the conversation over and over and they just get straight to the point. But I think just as things go up, reps get tougher.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think even some of the top level.
Any crazy requests you've seen?
No, not really. Just normal.
Boring. You're out. You're gone.
Wow.
Sorry.
Bye. Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much, Alex.
I've only done 2 movies. Give me a break.
I also would like to know if, from your point of view, from your position, are you in a position to be able to see any like red or green flags as far as an actor goes? Maybe if you see it through their reps or directly from them, what sort of characteristics are you looking for and not looking for?
I mean, at that level, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know that you want to work with somebody based on who they are and what they've done, then you're going to deal with whatever you have to deal with to get that performance in your project. And honestly, everybody that I've worked with, and I know everybody that we've worked with as a team, has been incredible.
Nice. Nice.
Both of these films required a lot of flexibility, COVID, budget, et cetera, and everybody was more than willing to move heaven and earth to get it done.
Wow.
It's very cool.
But I do remember there were a few things that came up during some short films at AFI.
Oh my goodness.
Not
I love it. This is the real
This
fun.
is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like red or green flags, but it's the same thing that we were talking about a little bit earlier, just like building like an authentic relationship and not coming in so desperate to get a part.
What ones were these?
Was
it RMSs or cycles?
I don't think so, because we kind of, for the MOSs, we kind of handpicked who we wanted to.
Yeah.
You had some of those relationships.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if it was for a cycle film or for my thesis, but there were 2 incidents where, and it was horrible, and I feel terrible talking about this because this woman showed up. She was older and she had a walker and she had just come out of surgery or something, and she shouldn't have been trying to. You were there, Haley. Do you remember this?
She should have just let it go.
Yeah, she should have just not taken the call.
What happened? What happened?
I think she
like,
before she came into the room,
like
she
fainted or
and,
fell.
Exactly. Her blood sugar was low, and we had to call an ambulance, and it was a whole
very stressful
situation.
situation.
But Haley was there for that.
I was there. I was auditioning.
Yeah.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Guess what?
Did you get it?
She got the part.
I did not get the part.
Yeah, at least you were there.
But we're still friends.
You're like trying to cover it. She got it. I didn't.
I think but this happened you were in the hallway.
It was so long.
This was right before you came into the room, so obviously everybody was. It was a bad moment.
Yeah,
it was awkward.
Basically ruined my audition.
That's amazing. Blame it on Alex when you can.
But
no, it was that lady. That
still
poor
good friend.
Yeah, friend.
Poor yeah.
You don't have to give me a part to be my friend.
I hope to one day work with you.
The most political way of saying it.
Cut this. This is weird.
Yeah. No, I won't. Well, let's wrap it up. I mean, I think if you were to give, let's do something a little cliche here. Giving advice or just like fun tips, tricks for anyone looking at getting into the industry. Advice? What do you follow?
Your heart.
Like?
Your heart.
Your heart.
Actually, say it again. I won't laugh.
Follow your heart.
Follow your heart.
Follow your heart.
Follow your heart.
You
Your
did
heart.
it.
Do
There
it.
it goes.
Actually, that is really good advice.
No, it is. I think as cliche as it is, you don't want to do this for any other reason. If there are other reasons that you want to do this, whether your parents are involved in the business or
money,
or that actors and producers make a ton of money, which some do, sure, but it's
gonna be a long
There's a
time
whole class
before
structure,
you make a
exactly.
lot of money.
Yeah. If you really, really want to do it and you're really passionate about it, then start making decisions now that will lead you to this, whatever that is. For me, it was getting injured and picking up a camera and just chasing that small passion and having it grow into something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never thought Hollywood was possible, and I'm still at the very, very early stages of it, but movies and TV and this world and watching the Oscars every year, like it was a being of its own. And even when I was making films in the outdoor world and like with rubbing shoulders with some of the biggest athletes in the world, I still never felt like I could be in this side of things. And I still feel pretty adjacent to it. But I'm in it. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And it took grit and determination and a lot of hard days and a lot of long nights, but I knew that this is all that I ever wanted to do. Not ever, but this is what ultimately I wanted to do and what I want to do.
Oh, yeah. It's so beautiful. I'm always so happy to celebrate your successes. There are so many. So
Oh, stop it.
it's true. Every time I see Alex, he has some good news to share. And so it's very exciting to be your friend, but also see your journey unfold.
Well, and likewise, I know you guys are both doing some pretty incredible things, and obviously this podcast is going to explode.
I mean, it's
it
fun. We have fun doing it.
I went to dinner with the DP that I've worked with for these last two films, Sing, and some of our crew from both of these films, and I was telling them about this podcast, and like, that's a brilliant idea. We need more of that, because as a DP, he was saying same things that you guys have been talking about for however long you've been doing this, but actors for the screen need to know how to interact with a camera crew and with lighting and
how
where
to
they
build
need to be.
relationships that are authentic,
Exactly.
how to work with crew, how to feel more confident when you get onto set. Is our little tagline there. So
film acting is technical. Oh wait, tell us where we can find you.
Oh yes.
Like online.
Instagram.
Do you want
in
to
Hollywood?
Do you want to
from here?
His address.
Do you want to plug anything?
My Instagram is at AI Rudolph, AIRUDOLPH.
AI
The
Rudolph.
reindeer.
Look him up. He has some really cool mountain content.
I miss the mountains a lot.
Yeah.
And he's single, so
I'm single.
looking for love.
Slip in those DMs.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex, for joining us. We will have you sing us out of this episode whenever you're ready.
Take it away.
Thank you so much for having me. That's it. That's all I got.
All right. That was it. Thanks, Alex.
Can't believe you made me do that.